So now it's my pleasure to introduce a fellow who's well known in the diorama creation business, if you've been around to many of the US shows, but we haven't seen him in Canada much, even though he lives in the state of Michigan. So we're really pleased to welcome Chris Steeb today. He lives in Dexter, Michigan, and he's a farm display enthusiast extraordinaire, I would say, because he's won the gold trophy at the national show in both 2013 and 2017. He's also won at the Lafayette shows. So when you've won awards at both of those shows, you must be pretty good. So Chris is going to share some tips and ideas on how to do better farm displays today. And as Jason mentioned earlier, he's been a strong contributor for 370 plus sessions on the Toy Tractor Times site. So we're really looking forward to welcoming Chris and learning more about the great dioramas. And by the way, already posted on the Toy Show Facebook page is a short video that Chris did on one of his dioramas, which was posted there. So you can see some of his great work on that video. But in the meantime, he's going to tell us how he makes all these great dioramas. So are you there, Chris?
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. It's been interesting to watch this. They asked me to give a brief presentation on the farm displays in the diorama world and the world of customizing and such like that when it comes to. Like you said, I've had the opportunity to compete at all the major shows here in the United States. I've been lucky enough to take home trophies from each of them, nationals twice, as he said, which is our majors. I think it's one of the largest growing sections of the farm toy world, especially for the younger group from the age of 40 on down. The nice thing is, with more of us having to take jobs in town, we can still keeps us grounded to some of our agricultural roots by having our own farm diorama. Some of the big new points that have come out in the last couple of years, and I'll give you an example, is the 3D printing for what pieces you can have on your displays or dioramas now. Here's a perfect example. This was a scratch-built trailer by Tony Dixon out of Iowa just a couple years ago that would take a guy weeks to build, to even months, and you were paying, you know, upwards of $200-300, to where now with 3D printing, Rocking H, one of my sponsors out of Kansas, has now got it so it's a 3D printed kit. You're into it for $50-60. You paint it up, put it together, and you have the exact same thing. And it makes it nice that now more and more people can have pieces without having to go to the complete scratch builders and customizers. A few things about the displays that have really changed in the last couple of years, and Jason will have some videos on Toy Tractor Times YouTube. There's a few up there already of some of the stuff I've done. Is static grass. It's an actual material that you use static electricity to stand up, so it does look like a real grass field when you get down there. Another thing that's important when you're having your farm display is, like Jason had talked with the new tractor that he had done that is weathered. Used to be everything, and still a lot of farmers, you know, I'm one of them, I power wash my real machines when I'm done with them, but there's times where they are dusty and such. You're seeing a lot of guys go to the, so I can get centered in the camera, with the weathered, more, she's got her work clothes on type models. This was one of the Toy Tractor Times 2 105s that I just, you know, detailed up, made it look like it had these had in real life had a 354 Perkins in them, the same one Massey used. And I put the exhaust on the outside because I made it look like this is one that got repowered with the Massey version with the turbo off to that side. But just little things like that that give it more realism, make it so you can tell more of a story. Earlier when we had the little discussion pattern, we were talking about as a judge, which is what I do a lot. When you win at nationals, you have to sit out for 2 years, and so it gave me the opportunity to actually come back and be a judge at the national show, and I've judged at the other ones now. People ask me what I'm looking for in a display. The biggest thing I'm looking for as a judge is I want to see a picture in time. I want you to try to tell me what you wanted me to see in 3D. Not so much worried about you showing your whole collection off on a display as specifically just, you know, the cattle over there in the pasture. one thing we're looking at doing as well is the displays have always been large, as in you could go as much as an 8x8. And those are still awesome and fun to build. I'm working on one for our nationals this year that is going to be the biggest one I made at 8x8. But we're looking at doing more of the smaller diorama type, like 18-inch by 18-inch that, you know, myself and Dan Meyer and a bunch of them have been pushing, because it's now something small that we can haul to any little local show without having to have a trailer. So we're looking in the future to have both a contest in the larger displays as well as the smaller ones. From here, I guess the best thing would probably be just if the host wants to come back up. I know there's a half dozen followers on here on my Instagram page who, and basically just do a question and answer. It's probably the easiest, because I didn't unfortunately have really a laid out, you know, platform that I would be speaking on this morning.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Well, now we've got an opportunity to ask Chris all sorts of tricks so that we too can be number one when it comes to doing dioramas. So do we have anybody who wants to ask some questions? And I would suggest you can put them in chat if you wish, but otherwise just push the space bar and ask your questions.
Chris, what do you find is the best materials? Like, how do you actually set your base of the display before you do anything else?
Good question. A lot of it, like I said, all of mine are all built on foam insulation that can be bought at Lowe's or Home Depot here in the States, and I'm pretty sure Home Hardware is carried as well. It's just the blue or pink foam insulation. And typically what I do is I just take a board and I have the buildings made that I want, and I lay them down there and I start drawing out where I'm going to put the terrain and just how I want to try to make my picture with marker, and then you just layer up your foam and you start covering from there. I prefer to use fillet knives for like filleting fish, and then just sanding blocks because they kind of cut down low on dust.
Okay, Ethan, do you want to come on and ask your question, please? Ethan is above that. How would you recommend to weathering tractors, and what do you use?
Mostly dull coat and pastel chalks that are fine shaved down, as well as acrylic paints. First thing I find is to, like I said, like a cabbed one, to mask off the glasses with your masking tape unless you want to fog out the windows. Then I spray them with dull coat, and then I go over them first with some blacks and rust color chalks. And then if I want to make it look like it's more greasy or such like that, that's when I go to the paints around the engine compartment and such.
Okay, thank you. And Andrew is asking, what happens to the Massey 1105, 1135s you were going to make?
There's still a possibility of production. I've got licensing permission, but like Jason talked, a big part of it was I'm a Massey enthusiast through and through. The problem is that the collector's network of us is so small, and the cost was looking at like around $20,000. It's just a matter of investment, and if I run 1,000 of them, will they sell? I do still have the molds here. If somebody wants to message me on Instagram, I could get them a kit, or even possibly find somebody to finish one out for them. But the full production run, like I said, right now is just on hold. But the prototypes still exist. I do have some kits that still exist. Like I said, it'd be a much more limited run than what it's going to. With 3D printing, it's one of them that I'm looking at actually having 3D printed. There will be a 3D printed mat for you Massey fans. I think my father's going to fund this part of it. 1/16th, we'll have a 3D printed model of a Massey Super 90 and the Massey 88s, like our real one. In 1/64th, we're going to do the same thing. That's it. If any of you know anything about 3D printing, you'll have a really nice, really high detailed limited model, but it's going to cost rough. The 1/16th start putting wheels and tires or anything on. The 64s will probably be in the $100 and $150 range. There's those of us who are collectors who don't think that's that shocking number. There's some people on here I know that are sighing right now.
Okay, thank you. Pierce, you've got a question in the chat. Do you want to come on and ask it in person? Just push the space bar to turn your mic on. After that pause and no response, I'll read his question, which is, what type of precautions do you take when you are traveling with your displays?
Good question. Now to start with, I glue all my stuff down the best I can. Every layer is re-glued and glued again. I've never hauled mine in a trailer. My key is to always make them so they will fit into the cab of the Tahoe or into the back of the car, something like that, because my biggest worry always has been bumps. But like I said, most importantly, as you can see with this one, everything other than the figures and such is all well glued in place. I make it so that all my displays can be turned completely on side. The key to it is just glue everything down well and you'll be all right. Things are still gonna, when you get to shows, things are still gonna be knocked off and bumped. I noticed this morning looking at it, I don't know if I bumped this last night or whatever, but I see I've got some repairs to make on the trees. When you go to a competition, just make sure that you have plenty extra of your static grass and however you made your trees and stuff to make those little repairs. They do give you plenty of time before judging actually starts to make your small repairs.
Okay, good, thank you. So next we have Campbell who has a question. Do you want to ask it in person, Campbell?
Can we see all the ranch trucks on your display?
Campbell, we're talking about hundreds, but I will show you which one you're probably wanting to see. He's referring to the one that he had made for me. This young man did a really nice job. And like I said, that's the nice thing is the future of the hobby is the young men that, you know, when I was building 1/16, they're building 1/64. So he did a really nice job weathering the hood and making it just look like an old, you know, farm truck you would see any day of the week.
Okay,
For the rest of you
good.
want to see lots of pictures of my stuff, like Campbell, you can find me on Instagram.
Okay, thank you for that question, Campbell. And good to see your handiwork. We're expecting more things from Campbell in the future. Next from Galaxy, we have a question. If Galaxy wants to come on and ask it. I don't hear Galaxy, so I'll ask his question that he's put in the chat. What has your favorite display that you've done so far?
That's a good question. Probably my Jimmy Red place, because that was the one I had the most fun with doing everything on it, weathered and rusted up and just made it that rough neighbor's place. The little last river scene that I did was a lot of fun. My Nationals one that I'm working on, which is I'll give a little secret away, is a chunk of Main Street coming into town. It's been a lot of fun. My funnest one is always my next one.
Okay, Ethan, do you want to try again with your question? I got one here that I see you've asked, but come on, ask it if you wish.
Come on, guys, don't be shy. You can chime in and we can see a little video of you real quick, or we can hear your own voices.
No, I guess not. So Ethan is asking, how would he get you to custom build a tractor for him? Is that possible? What would he do if it was?
Yes, but it is very possible. The problem is they're not, you know, cheap. And as you know, Wayne Conroy will tell you, sometimes it takes a long time because we all have real lives as well. Like I said, the biggest thing in this day and age is cost and time. Anything can be made if you're willing to pay for it.
Okay, and one last question from Lyndon. Are you there, Lyndon?
Yeah, Chris, I just had a quick question about Shapeways, and I noticed following you on Instagram and Toy Tractor Times that you've seemed to always have the latest and greatest from Shapeways. What's the best way to search out stuff on Shapeways? I just find it's tedious. You get thousands of pages to search through.
Yeah, they have a terrible search engine. What I really just type in is the number 64 at the top. If there's something specific you actually are looking for, I kind of have kept a database myself. It may take me a little bit, but you can message me on Instagram at Redlands, Oklahoma, and I'll try to point you back in the direction. But, you know, mostly I put in, like, you know, that farm truck I did the other day with, you know, the growler type tires on it. I just put in 64 wheel, and or 64 off-road and stuff like that comes up. Like I said, their search engine is absolutely terrible, but I've been doing it long enough. I've got a pretty decent database made up. That said, a lot of the stuff on Shapeways now anymore, I know who actually produces them, and a lot of people have their own Anycubic printers now. So I can probably point you in the direction of the guys themselves, and they'll help pay for their printer by shipping you some parts direct. Like, Lee Johnson, who does me a lot of stuff, Cottonwood Acres on there, Chris Putnam up there in Saskatchewan. He's got his own printer now, and is printing out did like the beautiful Wheatland conversion kits for Jason's 1030s. So like I said, just message me on there and I can point you, pretty close to the right direction of where you need to go. I know, like I said, I wish there was a better, I messaged, the problem with Shapeways is it's a multi-country company. They do have an office in New York City, but it's just kind of a production office. Their headquarters is out of the Netherlands. So there's a time delay between talking to them as well as a language barrier. And they do a lot of everything. So we're a small part of their market.
Okay,
Right
thank you for that, Chris. We've got a guy who wants to wind up this segment. Seth Hassard wanted to ask you a question. Go ahead, Seth. Push down on this. There
What's
you
your
go.
favorite tractor?
My favorite tractor, company-wise, is Massey Ferguson. My favorite toy tractor around here would probably be the LP 806 that Tony Dixon built for me, because I had a lot of memory of running a real one of those.
And can I also see your hippopotamus?
Can you see my hippopotamus? No,
Yeah.
but just for you, Seth, because it's on the other side, I will make sure it's in Model Farm Monday for you specifically this week, so you'll have to look for it.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, Chris. Thank you so much, Chris, for taking the time to join us today and show us some of the items that you do and what you're working on. And congratulations once again on your award-winning dioramas. For anyone who can get the gold at the national show twice and also get top awards at Lafayette show, you got to be right at the top when it comes to building dioramas. And we really appreciate you sharing with us at the Ontario Toy Show today. So this is a benefit of doing things on a virtual format, is that you can share all this likely better online than you would if you had to travel. So we hope to catch up with you sometime in the future, and we hope that you'll hang around and enjoy the rest of the show.
Well, thank you for having me. And like I said, yeah, it's been enjoyable so far.